Hello everyone, welcome to this game review. Um, Today's game is an AI game with FineArt and Mao Ruilong. It's a two-stone handicap game that was played on FoxGo server. With FineArt, the strongest Go AI since AlphaGo retired, versus Mao Ruilong, who is, at the time of this video, of the time of me making this video, is number 71 in the world. So a pretty strong player, despite only being 5p. Now the highlight for this game for me, because I always try to handpick what I think are the most interesting games, is the opening of this game. I have watched many FineArt games, and I have seen many unique moves, but I have not seen a unique opening like this. This is the only game that I've seen that FineArt has played this opening. And what I don't really understand about it is if FineArt's trying to play optimally in every game and with every move, why in this one game was FineArt playing this way? So yeah, so strap in for the opening because it's pretty crazy. And secondly, the fighting in this game is pretty complicated, so hopefully I'll do my best to, one, explain it, but two, remember the variations I came up with, because when I do these reviews, I do the review beforehand, to try to plan ahead of what I'm going to say, but I don't, keep the variations saved or anything, so they're off, just off of memory, so hopefully I do everything correctly. But yeah, so time settings for this game, I believe, were 1 minute main time with 3 60-second Byo-Yomis. FineArt is white, and Mao Ruilong is black. So the first couple moves, of course, are pretty standard, right? And then white plays this move, which already isn't insanely crazy, but it is pretty crazy. It's not one of the standard ones we know, right? Like, we would expect one of these 4 spots if white was going to play somewhere in that corner, or just to approach something else. So, again, why in this specific game FineArt calculated this was a better move, I don't know. And I don't know if the programmers were having fun with it that day or what, but this move is pretty unorthodox for sure. Now, black chose here, which is the correct direction. So why doesn't black go this way? Because when white goes here next, you can see even though white's all the way on this side, white is starting to build a moyo that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 high, right? Because of this stone. So white's can build a moyo on the left that is 6 high right now. But if black goes here and white goes this one, we can see that white's only building one that's 1, 2, 3, 4 high, because from the top, this stone is on the 4th line. But from the left, this stone is on the 6th line. So that's why this is the correct direction. Even though it's closer on, it's closer on this side. So that white does take that, which is a normal move, right? And then white plays here, which I'm trying to look at it, I'm trying to digest it, and I don't really know why it chose this move. Now, it does prevent, it doesn't even prevent, it just kind of like discourages black from playing in here, but black can still come in to this corner. And this specific move, I'm not sure why it chose this one, because it still leaves this area pretty wide open. So, like, maybe something like this later. The spacing here is not perfect for white. So I'm not really sure, honestly, why I chose this one. If I wanted to do anything, I would want to do something like this, right? So if I were to play on the left side. So I don't know. I am not sure. So then black plays Sanrense. Black could have played some enclosure in the corner, which I think would have been fine too, but black plays this. Maybe black was thinking, oh, white's building a moyo, so I'll build my own moyo. So, any guesses on white's next move? Because this move is it's pretty strange. I again have no idea about this move. It looks so slow, doesn't it? Like white's fighting over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces of territory, while there's a whole side here that is double that. There's even spaces here that are 5, right? Even the top is bigger, right? So I don't know what this is fighting over. What looks like not a lot. Now maybe white, if white does something, I don't know. White is afraid of this, but if, again, black's only getting maybe like, if black gets this area, it's only worth like 6 points, right? So, and it's still invadable. Plus I said I would go, like, again, I would consider this move because if black pushes, I could jump, and this feels very natural. But if I do this one and black does something, this move looks so slow now because I think black would do something like this now, right? As opposed to coming up. So yeah, order of moves seems strange. Again, I don't know what the bot was calculating. So white's starting to get a double wing. So black takes the top again. This side is not the widest side, I'm pretty sure, but it's wider than this side, right? And then white plays this move. It kind of looks like, when you teach a beginner, when you first teach them, like, when you have one stone, you want to extend 2 spaces, because that's the perfect extension. It looks like white's a beginner, and white was just taught that, so white's now just making 2 space extensions from all his stones, right? I don't get it. At least do this one, right? Because if we look at this stone up here, when black pincers, and white goes here, this stone here is very light now because white has 3 options. White can jump into the center, white can invade the corner, or white can connect on the second line. So this stone has 3 options it can use, so it's very light. Plus this is a very good extension from this stone. But when it plays here, notice this stone here becomes a lot heavier because now white can't play this attachment to connect. So this stone only has 2 options of jumping out or taking the corner, which is why black goes here, or black goes here. So now white's only chance with this stone is to take the corner, or like take the sides. So yeah, don't know what this is. Very perplexing. So now white says, I'm done playing in the upper left, I'm going to actually do something else. So white approaches. Not the biggest side though, so again, I'm pretty confused about this one, but black has a Sanrense, so I can understand why it wants to break this up. So kick, of course, black already has the stone here. And then black's next move is very vital. It's this one. It keeps white separated, which means white here is still weak. Even though black can maybe take a move on this side, even if white goes here next, you can see all of white's stones are now starting to communicate. Plus, this stone actually puts a lot of pressure on the corner. So this move not only strengthens the corner, but also weakens white. And if black can keep white weak, white's going to have a harder time of invading on the bottom or on the right side. And this is that ripple effect that I always talk about, whereby you strengthening yourself, you are weakening white or your opponent, which means they can't do as much. But of course, AI disagrees and approaches, treating these stones lightly. So again, black kicks and then comes up, saying, okay, you have two weak groups. I have only one, not even that weak of a stone, so I'm going to get some profit, whether I attack this or this. So where does white go? White attaches. White does not, how should I say this? White is okay with touching black here because black is already solid. So if you make a strong group stronger, it's just strong. Whereas if white were to play on this side, somehow maybe attach something, right? This corner has a lot of aji, more aji than this corner. So like if black starts to add stones here, right? Let's say black starts to surround. Even though black surrounded these two stones, white can still approach or play this dive or play the 3-3. So this corner has a ton more aji for white to exploit later, because this corner is weaker than this one. So white is trying to attach to black's strength to get its self-strength to attack the stone. So that's the point of this attachment. Now, in the game, black jumps here. So what is the purpose of this jump, right? White attached to black, so black should feel the need to respond directly. But the reason why black does not respond directly, so if our opponent attaches, our first instinct is to hane, right? Well, when white hanes, or when white extends, notice this stone starts to put more pressure on this group, on this stone right here. And black still has a cutting point. So black would like to connect, but then when white attacks this, because this stone is on the board, this stone is a lot weaker. Notice, let's just say, I don't know, this happens. And now white caps. Notice there's 3 spaces here. So white's wall is further away from this stone, so black can maybe play a move like this, which would threaten to come out. Or, yeah. So, if black hanes, black would be pushing white towards his weak stone, and black does not want that. So that's why black just jumps. So black is keeping this stone from being under more attack. Now, if black just extended and white came up, we have that situation again where white would then, if black ignored, white would then be able to make a solid foundation on the left. And this would feel pretty good for white. Again, because of this corner, even though black might be able to attack the 2 stones, the corner is still open. So black would like to add a stone. But again, even though these stones aren't as close to this stone, white could still get an attack on these stones. On this stone. So, but by jumping, even though white can still go here, now, so let me backpedal. Let's say something like this happens. What is black's follow-up after black goes here? Is it here? Is it here? It's not clear what black's follow-up is, and even if black has one, it's not that severe. Whereas, when black goes here, when white pushed, black descended. And what this does is now, if white goes elsewhere, black's follow-up is very clear and very big. This turn is very big. Yeah. It starts to reactivate Aji in the corner. It gets black a lot of points. Yeah. So, this follow-up is much better than if black had just done this, right? Then there's no follow-up on the left. So this jump is a pretty good move. Now, white in the game doesn't go here. Oh, right. White then goes here. Now, when your opponent wedges here, you have two options. It's to either Atari on this side or Atari on this side. In the game, black goes here, so let's look at this one first. White would connect, black would then connect, white would descend, black can descend. White would descend, black can then hane, white would hane, connect, and then white would add a move. So what do we think of this result? So I guess black didn't choose this in the game because black's wall has weaknesses and white scoops out the corner, right? So even though black might be able to get the first move down here, if white is later able to cut, this could be very severe for black. But even if black protects the cut indirectly, or like black would never want to do this, right? So black might want to do something more proactive, right? I don't know, something. There's still this clamp, which can be pretty annoying. Yeah, so yeah, white might not even cut, white could do this instead. And you can see if black does a move like this, white can Atari on either side, right? So black would need to connect solidly, but no matter which way black connects solidly, white would get another forcing move, right? Which would completely destroy black's wall. And even in this case, white could cut too. So this wall, even though it looks pretty good, it has a very big weakness. So that's why black didn't choose this. It's important to add that white does need to end in gote, because this move kills. White blocks, black will hane, and white doesn't have enough space. If white descends, black can play this move. This move does not kill because white can actually just go straight there. Yeah. Black might try something like this, but it doesn't work. So that's why black needs to go straight there. Yeah. So in the game, black goes here and then connects. So black could have done this, but if black does this, black would either be fighting a ko, which would be a pretty heavy ko for black, because if white wins it, black's top and upper right are very weak. But if black just connects, and white, even if white just pushes through like this, and does this, black's upper side isn't tiny, but white completely destroys black's moyo on the right side with this sequence. So black does not like this. So that's why in the game, black just connects. Now I do want to point something out as to why white wedges. I see a lot of people wanting to do this one first, and then going here. This is a bad order of moves, because if we play the exact same sequence, notice white has taken away one of its liberties because black has this stone here, right? So black can actually do this, and even though white can maybe do this, black can then turn here. If white blocks this way and then capture, this would be a ko for white's life. So white would really like to go here, but then black can get this major squeeze. Major squeeze. And even though white would probably be alive, it would be gote, and black can capture at any time, so this stone is useless, right? But if we play the exact same sequence. Notice when white does this, and black goes here. Again, Tawari analysis is very important. White would never Atari here. White would like cut here, right? Threaten a double Atari and capture. So that's why black has to go here. And so then notice this liberty isn't taken. So black cannot play the same way. Right? Black can't play this move now because this stone is not here. So it's a big difference for white. It's the difference between white being comfortable and alive in the corner, or white giving up, either letting black have a co for white's life, or being very uncomfortable in the corner. So it's a big difference. So whenever you have this shape, never do this hane. Always do the wedge. So black goes here, extends, come here, white Ataris, and then connects. So white, this ladder is good for black. So white can't capture these stones. But what I was kind of curious about is if white Ataris once, and then plays something like this to try to get black, to try to get a ladder breaker in the way. Right? Try to force a ladder breaker so that eventually white will be able to, depending on how black plays, eventually be able to take these stones. But I think white doesn't do this, because in the game white just connects. It's because if white went here now, black would maybe just turn. And let white take here, because this is not that impressive of an area. So yeah, that's why I think white just connects. Now, in the game, black does this, which looks like a strange move, but it's a very good move. The reason why is because if black just captures, so black would like to capture these, right? It'd be very bad for black if white got to extend, right? So black would like to add a move. So he went here. So if black just takes, white can Atari and get a free move here, which would mitigate this Aji of this stone. So that's no good. But if black turns and tries to save this and Sente, even though black maybe gets to push once more and then maybe does something like, I don't know, this. Even if black tries to be a little faster, by doing this, black has given white the entire top. And this would still have Aji, right? And even if black does this, it's still not as big as giving up the corner, or giving up the side. So by black, extending here, black is capturing these stones, but also leaving the top open. So it's a very good move. So now white plays here. So again, not sure why white did this now. Again, maybe because the AI thinks this is more Sente than the bottom. Even though there is potentially two white weak groups. The AI calculated that, I guess. So then white does this. So why does white do this, right? Because we're taught the cap, but we're never really taught like a knight's move, right? It's kind of strange. So by capping, you would be giving black the option of either running in either direction, right? Black can go this way, or black can go here. So you would do this if you don't care which direction black picks. But in this case, because white has a wall here, and white's weak here, white wants to push black towards its wall here, right? So that's why white plays on this side, to kind of push black towards this wall, while helping these stones. So black tries to cut through. Again, this is what white wants. White wants black to come this way. So of course you don't want to follow your opponent's plans. Now, white could push and cut, However, black could just give up the stone. Even if black does maybe that into this, and black would live not comfortably, but black would have a group on the bottom that's pretty much alive. And white has so many weaknesses with this wall, right? We have this stone that could run out, we have a cut here because it's a knight's move, and we have a 2-space jump here with this peep, right? Like if white protects here, maybe black can peep and into this attachment. So this would be very, even though white gets an outside and seals black in, it's not great for white. So white wants to just keep the, instead of going after just one stone by doing this, white wants to go after the whole thing still. Now, if white just goes here and black comes up, if white were to try to put pressure on the corner, black could just hane, and even if white just comes up, black would just be like, okay, I'll just continue growing my corner and my side. So that wouldn't be so good. So that's why in the game, white attaches here. And this is the same logic as to why white attached on this side. White wants to attack these stones. So white is okay with attaching to black's stronger stones to get thickness to attack these stones. So black can't do much in terms of fighting this, because if black hanes, white could just come down, which threatens a push and cut, which is ginormous, and then even though black solidifies this side, white could then capture, or even do something like this. But yeah, even if white goes here, this would be pretty good for white, right? Or even if white just comes up instead and leaves like a cut here, right? So black can't do that. Black would also like to be able to cut this off, but you can see black's corner is so weak, and by white getting this stone here, this is threatening a cut, right, let's say black does whatever, right here. So black can't do much with this stone. If black were to just play solidly, white could then play a move like this to seal black in. So white got a stone here, which is helping to surround this. So this move's very good. I know of this move, and this is not an AI move. I remember I learned this move from one of Gu Li's games. I believe one of the games he played against Lee Sedol in their 10-game series. But yeah, this is a very good move. So black can't do anything on this side, so black has to save the stones on the bottom. So then white gets to hane. So this is different from white just jumping, because it's not as forceful, right? Like when white plays this move, black still has 3 liberties, so black can easily just hane. But when white has the stone here, this stone only has 2 liberties, so black can't play as strongly. So black has to just descend down, and then white gets perfect shape, right? Tiger's mouth. So then black peeps, and then dives. Now this dive is very important. You do not want to do this. This leaves way too much aji with this cut. If black connects, even if white doesn't do something directly with this, if white could do something down here or like this, and just leave this cut later for black to deal with. If black goes here, white can Atari and then play this move, which is the bamboo joint shape, right? And this would be pretty bad for black no matter what happens. Yeah, if it connects, white will descend, which is threatening to go here or connect here. If black goes here, white can just capture. If black Ataris, white can still descend down. And it's just, it's no good. Black can maybe go here, but white would do this first, which is threatening this, and then white can come back anyways. And even if white gets a ko or something, this would still be good for black. So that's why, with this shape, you play the knight's move. And if you're ever watching a strong player's game, or a pro's game or whatever, and they play like this sort of second line knight's move, it's because they're worried about the push and cut. So if white just goes here, right, this looks like the very natural move, black would just drop down. And white would like to connect, and it's very similar to, a variation I just showed, where white does get the outside, but black's just alive and happy. And it's not really clear what white can do with this thickness, so instead, white takes out black's base first. And even though black gets to run out, this move gives white a base for these stones and eyes, while taking away black's eyes. So black hanes, and then white actually saves the stone, which I can understand, but it felt very, when I looked at this game, I was like, oh, that looks heavy, right? Like, it looks like, oh, white should just give up those stones, or this stone, because black has 4 stones very close to white. So white should just give up the stone. White already got the use out of the stone. But because this move is threatening a push and cut here, right? This move would lose meaning if white gave up the stone. So that's why white saves it, and then black goes here. And then white turns, and then black makes a tiger's mouth. And then white jumps. So this is very important. If you don't know what aji you want to use, don't use it yet. And this will make sense. So right now, with this tiger's mouth, white can Atari, which is sente, right? Or white can do this peep, which is sente. But as of right now, white doesn't know which one is more important. So white keeps it on the board. So white doesn't Atari, even though it destroys black's shape, right? White just jumps. So black jumps, white peeps. Now in this case, right, we have white can peep on this side, which white did, or peep on this side. There never really is this kind of peep, it really has no value for white. All it does is make the stone heavy and black stronger. So white knows white never wants this peep. So that's why white peeps on this side. So black connects, and then white comes down. Now so in the game black crawls once. If black can quote unquote cut this, and white can squeeze. And notice black cannot continue pushing through white shape, so black has to cut. If white Ataris and then Ataris, black would then just do something else. And even though white can capture 3 stones, because black captured 1 stone and white can be captured back, it's really only worth 1 point for white to capture. If that, right? So it's not big. But because white did not use this Atari, white can actually peep here. Right? Because white has this, I guess, yeah. I guess white could just do this automatically because black can never push through, but you can see by how even if white does this first, by not Atariing here, white keeps the aji of this bamboo joint. So, yeah. Now, black goes here in the game, and then white comes down. I have to think that a move down here is more important. because white, this move, once white goes here, white has two eyes, or basically two eyes. Plus, there's no clean way for black to cut these stones now, because white can do this clamp, which if black descends, white can cut. So black needs to connect, but then white can connect. So I want to keep these stones disconnected, because even though maybe white does live, right? Let's just do something like that. Let's say white does live. Whatever, it'll be small, but I'm still looking at this group. This group is not alive. So by keeping these stones weak, black stones here are then stronger than in the game, because the relativity of stones' strength is dependent on their opponent's strength. So once white, so I think this is much better for black. But once white got to play this dive and basically connect all of its stones, now that these stones are strong and these stones are strong, that means this black stick is not strong. So black has to help them, and goes here. Now this is a good move, because a lot of us would consider doing something like this, but this would be way too risky, especially with this group here. Right, like black might wedge and then connect. Maybe do that one, which is threatening to cut these stones off, so maybe black will protect somehow. But then white could surround this entire bottom, and this would be much bigger than the top. So black treats this stone lightly and says, okay, I want to strengthen these stones, so I want to try to get some forcing moves on the top. So white just pushes through, cuts, and then black Ataris, and then white attaches. Now very similarly to the last sequence, black can technically push and cut this, but when white extends here, this move's actually a ladder breaker for black. So black, this works for black, or for white. So black would need to add a stone on this side. But you can see, if black saves this side, this stone's starting to get very weak, so black would need to protect somehow. Maybe turn, and then attach. And again, white is surrounding the bottom, but in this case, white still has a potential ko at the top for life. So this would be even worse in black than in the last sequence. So that's why in the game black just jumps. So white makes a bamboo joint, and then jumps. So black pushes, and then white plays a very nice move here. Using the shape of all the stones. You know, we have a double knight's move here. And this move is also looking at pulling this stone out, if black ignores. So black attaches. So black doesn't want to just have to connect and gote, right? So black wants to try to attach, to try to connect and sente, or at least have a better follow-up, right? Like if white ignores this move and does something, I don't know. I don't think that works just yet. Something. What's black's follow-up? Do this? Do something? It's not very clear. But when black goes here and white ignores, while it's not a huge difference, black could then hane here. So yeah, this move's pretty good. So white does hane, and then black extends up. Again, we have a cutting point here. So then white plays here. Now that this move actually now makes this stone work. Now white did this immediately. I'm pretty sure black could extend. Extend again, and then go here. And you can see that there's Mi connection. If white goes here, black would then connect. If black goes here, or white goes here, black can Atari this side and then connect. Which would be pretty big. Pretty big. And white would like to be able to go here, but I believe black could do this. Or even just Atari and then push through. And it's very hard for white to keep black sealed in. And even though this looks like this black was in danger because of this ko, black has, like if white starts to ko, black has a ton of ko threats with this cut. A ton of ko threats. So white cannot win this ko. So this would be okay for black. So that's why in the game, white does this first. So black extends, and then white comes down. Which now white will be able to push through. And even though black pushed through here, white can then go here. And you'll see that black cannot do the same thing by going here, because when white blocks here, this move here is not an Atari against this stone, so white would then be able to just cut. So that's why this move is very important. You'll also notice how black went here as opposed to connecting. Black is trying to not connect like simply until the last moment, because that's efficient. So black is trying to poke through first before connecting. So black goes there, and then black comes up this way. And then white goes here. The purpose of this move is to activate some Aji here, but also if white does protect that Aji, black can then go here. And if white cuts this off, you'll notice this move is very well placed, where if white goes here, black can then Atari this. Or if white goes here, black would then do this, and you can see white's now cut off. So it's pretty dangerous for white. Plus, and it's important to note, black couldn't do this immediately because white could stand up and then cut. And black cannot save these two stones. But if black makes this exchange first, notice when white tries to stand up, this move is a tiger's mouth. So that's why in the game, when black goes here, even though there's cutting Aji and all this stuff here, white just plays here. Which again, you can see, white's actually getting not a ton of points, but white's getting some points on the bottom. So black cuts. Now white pokes. This is good timing, because right now, black's starting to surround these three stones. So before these stones are off the board, white wants to get the Aji out of them, right? So while these stones are on the board, or breathing, I guess, white wants to get this peep. So now black connects. So white. Also, it's important to note that this also means white knows that this Atari is less valuable than this peep. So that's why white does it. So Atari and then connect. And there's no way for black to cut white off. If black tries to do something like this, white can net. If black tries to push directly, black can't cover. So Atari and going here is much better than maybe doing something like this. Because they're still cutting Aji, and this stone is much weaker. Also, by doing this, white will never be able to wedge here, because this will be a double Atari. But by forcing black to go here and then connecting, notice, I'll show you what happens in the game first. Black turns, and then white plays here. Pushes through once to see how black answers. Will black cover, or will black play here, which black does go here, and then white makes the bamboo joint. Notice if black goes elsewhere, white will then be able to wedge here, because this move isn't a double Atari anymore. So black doesn't have time to do that, so black then goes here, which this is again, black's trying to not go here. Like, this is a last resort because it's dame. So black's trying to say, okay, I know I need to protect this group here, but I'm going to do it. I don't want to connect in gote, so I'm going to save that for my like plan Z, right? It's the last thing black wants to do. So black wants to play this one because it has more effect on the entire board. So white pushes, and then plays this. This is a probe. Just kind of see what black wants to do. So black Ataris, and then white descends. Now this descent, it's kind of weird how black played this move like so long ago, and black never got this descent. You can see how huge this descent is, right? So it's kind of, yeah, it's kind of bad black never got it. Black does need to add a stone here. Like if black, because white can connect, and this group's in a ton of danger. Because then white can go here. And again, this was like a last resort for black, so black would need to connect on this side. Which means white could then attack this top group. So yeah, black does need to add a stone. Descent, push, capture. I'm not really sure the point of this capture because, well, it has something to do with the life or the connection here, because black goes here. So by taking these stones off the board, black, there's Aji here now, I believe. And then white plays a jump, which again is forcing. And then white asks again. Sorry, I keep thinking white's gonna play this move, but white keeps tricking me. So again, saying, okay, black, you have to connect at some point. So then black connects finally. You can see how many, like, black got 3 moves here before connecting. So now I believe white goes, yeah, this diagonal. So yeah, the diagonal's pretty, it looks pretty good. Looks pretty nice. Black attaches at the 3-3 point. Now, this is a very important kind of game, not even theory, but like, I guess proper attacking technique, is you would think that if I hane, because I'm taking away one of black's liberties, I'm putting more pressure on black. Now, whenever you're in a situation like this where your opponent is trying to live in your area, you want to give them as little forcing moves as possible. So by haneing on either side, I'll do this one. While you are taking away a liberty from this black stone, when you have, how many stones does white have here? So white has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I won't really count this one. So white has 8 stones. Black is okay with giving up 1 stone. But is white okay with giving up 1 stone in his own area? And the answer is no. So black would happily maybe do this, double hane, maybe cut, maybe even clamp. Because as long as black gets something, black is happy. So even though this looks more aggressive, it's reckless. So because white is not extending the liberties of the stone that black attached to. So that's why black's able to double hane, because notice this white stone has 2 liberties. So that's why in the game white descends, extending his liberties while attacking. And you'll see that if black just descends, white can just kind of kill this group outright because white has so much strength. So whenever you're this strong in an area, you don't want to consider the hane. You want to consider like a descent usually, or like an extension. I mean, because in some cases this one is better. Oops. In some cases this is better. So always look at the extensions. So then black goes here, kind of on the sector line, but white just defends. Black pushes, and then white extends. Black then jumps, and then white kicks. Again, saying black, you do not have enough space for two wires. So then black plays this extension, and white answers, and then black connects. So black did reduce white a little bit, and got some odds in the corner, but white does get sente. So white played this descent, which is a very big move. It is much better than this. And the reason is, you have to come back and play this move anyways, right? Well, when you descend, and then your opponent goes elsewhere, you would never do this crawl, right? Because black would just, connect. You would do this one, right? Or even 3-3. So by Haneing, while it looks like you're getting rid of more of the corner, because your follow-up is better when you descend down, it's better to just descend. And then black plays this one. Now this is when it gets, well, this game's already been pretty complicated. Hopefully I've been explaining it well enough that it's at least a little bit understandable. So this move, the question is, can white Hane here? So in the game, white went here, and black extended. So what happens if white goes here? Now, what happens is, after this, two things will happen. One, this group will die, or two, this corner will live. Now the question is, how does black make it all relate to each other? So black will start with this, and then, so white needs to block, and then black will descend. Now, if white goes here, black will be able to descend, and if white does something like this to try to kill black, black can go here, starting to make an eye here while threatening to cut. So yeah, black, it's very yeah, maybe something like this. So black would be able to live in the corners because of this Hane here. So white would like to, so then white would need to go here. Then black can go here. And if white does something on the top, you'll see that because of these moves on this side, black can either cut here, right? Like if white takes that out, black will be able to cut here. So white would need to play a move down somewhere, but then black can descend and black's alive. And so this would be Miai life for black. So white would need to connect. Black then does this one. Where, let's see, if white just does this, black would then be able to connect, and or black would do this first. Yeah, black does this first, which is threatening this push through, right? Like if white cuts, black would then be able to push through and win this liberty race. Like if white tries to attach, black could actually play this first and then descend. 4 liberties or 3 liberties. So because this moves sente, white would need to connect, and then black can connect. And now there's no way for white to cut black off. Like if white goes here, black can just double peep. If white does something like this, black can just go here. Or not that one. This one. If white tries to Hane here, you'll see white's liberties are not the best here. And white will not be able to cut. So, but white can go here and cut this here directly, because if black tries to cut, white will then be able to go here. And black actually cannot escape with the 3 stones, but that's not what black wants. Black can actually just descend here. White would need to squeeze, or white would need a capture, so black will be able to squeeze. And then black will be able to cut this. But white can go here first. Yeah, white can go here first. But is it this move? Oh yeah, it's still the same thing, where white needs to capture. And black would be able to come back and connect. So, in conclusion, there is enough Aji here that black can go here. So, white goes here. So, black was able to read. Maybe he did, or he just had instinct, because he had 60 seconds of Yoyomi. That black plays just this innocent looking move, right? Like, it's only getting black a few more points, but it's very in-depth, which this is a good way to improve reading, is by going over these kind of games, because I can assure you that I would not have played a sequence that complicated in one of my own games. So that's why I need to get used to studying and reviewing games with these kind of sequences in, so that I can apply them in my own games. So black got this move. However, white's able to now come down. Right? White didn't Hane, so white's able to play a more severe move on the bottom. So black does not let white connect. This is the strongest move. If black does this, white will be able to just come down. And white has more Aji in the corner, actually. Because no matter where black plays, like if black does this moves Sente. Black goes here, this moves Sente. So white will be able to get this move in Sente always. So black just separates white. White pushes once, and black needs to go here. If black goes this one, white will be able to do this, which is threatening this cut. So black needs to protect. White can then cut. And if black cuts directly, you can see white can Atari. And this would be a terrible result for black. But you might think, oh, black can Hane first. Well, doesn't help much because white can still squeeze, and black would need to connect still. Even though black can do stuff like this, white will actually still be able to go here because it's a snapback. So black can't capture. So black would need a capture, and then white could capture, and white's still connected. So that's why black needed to play this one. Now after playing this one, white again asks if it can connect, and then extends its base. So then black peeps the eyes, white connects, black then continues taking out the eyes, and then white crawls. Now the purpose of this crawl is that if black goes here, white is then able to go here, which extends his eye space, and if black continues to try to get rid of it, you can see that this move, this cut, is a double peep, or it's starting to cut on both sides. So black needs to, if black wanted to do something, black would need to do this, but then white can play this in the corner. Oh, if black goes here, white can still ask again and extend its eye space even more. So black goes here and then does something like this. Then when white turns, this would be a ko. Yes, it'd be a ko. I believe white goes there, black can descend. Oh, it'd be that would be ko. Yeah. Oh, it would be seki. Yeah, this would be seki. Yeah, it'd be seki. So white would be able to take out even more points out of it. So that's why in the game, when white goes here, black, instead of going there, asks on this side first. Because if black does this into this, and then white answers somehow, I'm not even sure white needs to answer, but just for the sake of this review, white would just go here and give up the 2 stones, and clearly the corner is bigger than these 2 stones. So black asks first, hey, I know you're threatening to cut through here, so what are you going to give something up, or am I able to kill the corner? Like if white connects solidly, if black descends and white goes here, you can see that now this cut is protected because of this Atari. So if white does something like this and black, this would be an Atari, and then all those things that I was just showing start working again. So that's why black goes here first. So it's a probe. It's saying, what are you going to do, white? So what does white do? White just lives in the corner, black descends down, and then white comes through. Even though black can go here, it's very dangerous because white can just go this way, and black's not alive here or here. So even though black can do that, black goes here first. I believe this is trying to activate some Aji of being able to go here. So black goes here, and white just blocks. Black wedges. White Ataris, and then white needs to protect still, so white goes there, and then black turns. Now, if white, so white pushed through, so white cuts, black will be able to descend here, and white will never be able to capture this stone. It's very similar if white goes here, and then tries to cut, because black will be able to come down. Now, the question is, what if white goes here? If black descends and white cuts, black would be able to descend and win this capturing race by 1 liberty. Oops, wrong one. This one. There is a difference here, right? Oh no, there actually isn't, because black can go on the other side. Okay, so yeah, black will go there, and black wins by 1 liberty. However, after this, white can push once. Now if black turns, when white descends and black hanes, white actually wins this semi-eye. Black has 2 liberties and white has 3 liberties. Yeah, let's leave that on there for a little bit more. So this would be bad for black. So after this move, black needs to go down, but then white can descend, and white's alive in the corner through Miai, because white's threatening to connect on the first line or has eyes in the corner. So that would be bad for black. However, in this case, black would just go here. And even though white will hane, black will descend. And what this does is, if white takes, this will be a ko still. But the main issue with this is, like, let's say white goes here, even black can just do this even. And you can see this center is cut off now. So, yeah, so if white protects, black can go here directly. It'd be a pretty heavy ko for black, or for white. So, that's why, even though white can live or save the corner because of this move, when black went here, white just comes down. Black comes down, white comes down. Because even though black takes the corner, white is reducing black on the top. And then white comes back to protect this cut. At this point, they just kind of go into early end game, and there's not really much else to really talk about. So I'll go through slowly, and I'll talk about what I thought about the game. So white, well, I'll just let them do what they're doing. So again, white's opening was pretty spectacular, right? Like I've never seen it play another opening like that. And yeah, it was crazy. And again, what's the craziest is white spent all those moves on in the upper left to make it that area, and it ended up being black's, right? That's what Go is. You got to be able to be willing to make trades, right? Black got that corner, but white took the entire left side, so that ended up being good for white, for sure, because black's corner is not that big, and white not only took out black's bottom left corner, but also took out the left side, or kept the left side. Yeah, and this fighting on the bottom and on the top, and basically all the fighting was very, very good, very high level. So I thought that was very exciting. So at this point, black resigned. So black's behind at this point. So yeah. So yeah, pretty crazy game. I want to just show the opening just one more time so you can be mesmerized with me one more time, right? That move, into that approach, into that move, the extension, the other extension. Like this is, like, what is this? It's pretty, it's robotic, I guess, right? So pretty interesting game. Really the highlight was for the opening. So I'm glad the game actually turned out interesting, because there are many times when I am watching one of the games and I'm like, oh, you know, what a cool opening, or what a cool sacrifice, but the game itself as a whole is pretty, like, the bot just kind of beats up on the human, and it's not that interesting as of a game as a whole. But this game was definitely interesting from start to finish. So hopefully you guys agree with me. If you have any questions about the game, please leave them in the comments. If I was unclear about something, or you just have if you just have a question about the game or anything, please let me know. I will have a link to the game record if you want to look at it yourself in the video description. But yeah, that's all from me. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope these kind of AI review videos are educational, or at least entertaining. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video.